We don't understand everything. When we're in nature, we don't fully understand how this beautiful place could be created. When we're with our family, we don't fully understand the love that we feel for them. And when we're praying, when we're meditating, we touch something ineffable. For me, it was high school chemistry that really taught me that some things were beyond me. Not all of us use the word God when we talk about these wonders for some God language. It's just not what we do. And for all kinds of reasonable and defensible reasons, we don't like that word, and of course that's fine. But what I hope we can agree upon tonight is that we don't understand everything. Humans are limited creatures. We do not and never will have complete comprehension of the universe. Some things will always be beyond us. That's what's at the core of these heightened experiences that we have with nature. That's what's at the core when we see a child who's new to this world. And what's at the core of a variety of religious practices like prayer and meditation that I mentioned. There are aspects of the world in our existence that are beyond our rational capacity. And our Torah portion this week, Chukat, also begins with something that's beyond the rational. The portion describes the purification ritual of the red heifer. Eliezer the priest takes a perfectly red cow outside of the camp and slaughters it. He then splatters some of its blood, burns the entire carcass, and mixes some cedar and hyssop into the fire. At the completion of the burning, the priest washes his bodies and clothing. So far, so good, at least to the Israelite priest who wrote this text. This is really the old-fashioned religion. Later rabbinic commentaries find aspects of this ritual bizarre and outside of priestly practice. Ramban, for instance, questions why the ritual takes place outside of the camp. Usually, sacrifices are only within the camp. It's sort of like offering a sacrifice outside of the temple. And he even asks this question: are non-Jews going to think that we are sacrificing to the goat demons? This is an odd ritual. He's worried about this. He also wonders why Eliezer the priest became ritually impure while performing a purification ritual. Again, counterintuitive. Why would a purification ritual generate ritual impurity and demand that Eliezer wash himself and stay outside of the camp until evening? So this law, this purification ritual, is something that operates not only beyond our logic, but even the usual logic of the priestly writers. Later medieval commentator, I promise every one of my sermons won't be a list of medieval commentators, but I'm showing off a little bit for this first one. A later medieval commentator notices these aspects of the ritual that are unusual and tries his best to explain them away. He doesn't want them to be beyond understanding. He wants the red heifer to be understandable and explainable. And this is how some of us respond to things that we can't explain. We try our best to explain them. We use the intellectual resources at our disposal to try to understand to comprehend the incomprehensible. This is a noble and practical endeavor. Without it, we wouldn't have science. Without it, we would not have solved all kinds of human problems like disease. And without it, we would not have all of this problem-solving technology. We wouldn't have computers in our pockets. The urge to explain the unexplainable rests at the center of contemporary society. There is another equally productive response. We can simply acknowledge that there are some things that we will never understand. Some of our most important questions: why we suffer, what happens after we die, they're unanswerable. We're mammals with a limited intellectual capacity, and a little bit of humility can go a long way when facing these types of questions, like our own mortality. One of the classic rabbinic midrashim on the Book of Numbers, a classical rabbinic commentary, B'midbar Rabbah, collects a series of rabbinic sayings on the red heifer that emphasize the non-rational aspects of the ritual. Rabbi Isaac quotes the book of Ecclesiastes. All this I tested with wisdom, and I thought I could fathom it, but it eludes me. And then concludes that he feels he understands the entire Torah, a really modest guy, except for the red heifer. Some things even elude the rabbis, the ancient rabbis, when they dedicate their entire lives to Torah. In another teaching in the same passage, a non-Jew verbally accosts Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai and accuses him of witchcraft. He says, "Doesn't the ritual of the red heifer seem like witchcraft?" And surprisingly, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai admits that the ritual is pretty much witchcraft. It's not rational. It involves all kinds of unusual practices. It's pretty much priestly hoodoo voodoo. So if it's witchcraft, why do we do it? Isn't witchcraft forbidden by the Torah and later interpreters? Rabbi Yochanan answers by saying that the ritual of the red heifer is a chok, which literally means a law or rule. King James translates it as statute. What is the Rabbi Yochanan doing here? He's simply saying that the red heifer is a law in the Torah, so witchcraft or not, we have to do it. Well, yes and no. It is a law in the Torah, and according to the classical rabbis, that means we have to do it, but there's also more to Rabbi Yochanan's response. By rabbinic understanding, a chok, when this particular word is used to describe a law as opposed to mishpat, it's a law that's not explainable. Mishpat, explainable, chok, not explainable. So the rabbis even divide up the mitzvot, the commandments, into these two categories. And they say that this law, also the law of Shatnez, where we're supposed to separate wool and linen and clothing, no rational basis whatsoever. We'll never be able to explain them, never be able to understand them, but nonetheless, if you're an Orthodox Jew, you have to do them. And there's great insight in this understanding of every human being's relationship with the universe. There are some things beyond rationality. There are some things we'll never understand. As I said, we'll never understand why just people suffer. We'll never know the moment of our death. And this is what it is to be human. Some things in life are chukim. They're laws beyond our comprehension. We'll never understand them. I'll close with a story. When I was in graduate school, I was talking to an engineering student, and he was giving me a hard time about studying religion. Why is the university wasting hundreds of thousands of dollars to educate you in something as impractical as religion? Will you ever be, he literally said, will you ever be able to monetize what you learn here? Now that is some engineer thinking. And my answer to him was simple and direct. You study things that have an answer. I study things that don't have an answer. And I was pretty proud that he was silent after that one. This is what things beyond our understanding bring to the table. You may not be eternal, but you can touch the eternal. This is what it is to be religious, and this is what it is to be human. Shabbat Shalom.